Hey guys, I'm going to be showing you how to make a custom biome in HYTALE. I will be also covering things such as fragment keys, entity spawning, custom watercolors, and weather. Let's jump right in. First, before we do anything, make sure you have operator permissions. Create a brand new mod inside of the asset editor. This one, add pack. I'm going to name mine Big City Fragment. But of course, you can name it whatever you want. Alright, now that you have the mod created, go to your HYTALE folder, open up user data, saves, the name of your world, and then mods. Open up your mod into a new window and put this to the side for the time being. Go back to the HYTALE folder, then go to install, release, package, game, latest, and then you'll find this assets.zip. Once you have located the assets.zip, either you can extract it or open it up in something like WinRAR, which I will be opening it up in WinRAR for simplicity's sake. Open for WinRAR. Yeah. Anyways, once you open the zip, click Server, then Instances, and then click Basic. Copy these files. Then, back in your mod folder, create a server folder, create a instances folder, and then create a folder that is the name of your instance. So for example, I will make mine Big City Instance. I'm going to paste the files under there, and we can immediately test to see if this is working by going to our creative tools back in HYTALE, clicking Instances, and if you scroll to the bottom, you should see your instance there. If you click it, it will bring you to HYTALE's basic biome. This is the same biome that can be found inside of the basic instance right here. But hooray, now we have our own instance. Now, let's add our own biome, starting with the biome structure. Inside of the asset editor, create a new object. This is going to be a world structure asset. I'm going to name mine Big City Structure Asset. And I will copy the data from HYTALE's basic world structure. Okay, now go back to your mod files, find this instance.bsum, and open it up in any sort of text editor. And now right here, this is your data for the instance. And what we could do is where it says world structure, we switch it out for the structure that we've made right here. So I'm going to put Big City Structure Asset. Of course, you would put whatever name you put as your instance. And now, it's time for the fun stuff. Inside the asset editor, create a new object, and this one will be a biome asset. I'm going to name mine, you could probably guess, Big City Biome. And then for the copy asset, choose HYTALE examples example prop. This one's my favorite because it already has prefabs loading. So create that. Now go back to your Big City Structure asset, and inside of default biome, or if you have multiple biomes, you could put it in here. But default biome, we will switch this out to be the biome inside of our own mod. Now, if we return to HYTALE, go to Instances, Big City Instance, you will see now that the world has changed. This is HYTALE's example prop biome. Now, before we continue, I recommend that you go and exit out of the world and go back in. Why? Just so everything updates. Alright, once you're back in to your instance, run this command. Viewport radius equal 5. What this does is it creates a viewport for 5 chunks. And what this means is that whenever you make internal changes to the biome, it'll automatically update. So let's give this a whirl, shall we? Open up the asset node editor for the early access v2 maps. You're going to hit open here and look at your mod files. So for instance, we have, right. Anyways, I'll go to saves, big city. All right, once you're in here, make your way to HYTALE generator, and then your biomes, and then your whatever you named your biome. All right, you're likely to get this error. It doesn't really cause any problems. Okay, so this is the entirety of the biome. To make sure everything is working, go over to this node right here and change it from soil dirt to, let's say, rockstone. And you will see, just like that, it updates to our stone. Alright, but for the time being, revert that back to soil dirt. Alrighty, now let's change these prefabs that spawn. So let's go into the asset node editor. The section towards the bottom here is what causes our prefabs to spawn. This right here is the block. This right here is the block mask. This can be used to make it so prefabs can only replace blocks instead of add, but we don't want that, so just remove it. And now you will see that, oh wait, save, and now you will see that these structures are above the ground. Make your way back to the asset node editor, and if you look right here, there's this weighted path. This is how this node knows what prefabs to spawn. So instead of rock formations, let's say I do plants, cacti, full. Save that. And now cacti spawn. They are, however, 1 block up, and I never could figure out how to fix that. So if y'all do figure it out, please let me know in the comments. And the way I found this path is by going to the prefab list and clicking until I found it. So plants, cacti, full, and here's our path right there. Now let's say you have some custom prefabs you made. These would be inside of your saves prefabs folder. For instance, I have these structures here. I'm going to copy these prefabs. Yoink. I'm going to go to my mod, into server, create a new folder, and call it prefabs with capitals. Be certain it has capital. Prefabs. And then paste your prefabs folder. Go ahead and move the contents out. That way you don't have prefab inside a that way you don't have prefab inside a prefab, which is not fun. Rename your folder to be something you'll remember. Likely, I think I'll do big city structures. Now if I go to the prefab list, big city fragment, we have big city structures. And then my prefabs are here to be placed down. Alright, now let's hook these up to the biome generation. So what we have to do is where it says weighted path, we have to switch this out for the path that we have for our prefab. So in this case, it wouldn't be assets big city fragment, it would be just big city structures. So be wary. So I'm going to put big city structures, save that. I don't know why the roof is like that, but oh well. Now we can see these beautiful trees I've made and these really cool statues. But you might realize everything is looking one way. We can easily change that though. if we go to here, where it says static directionality, remove this node, drag this out, and add in a random directionality. And then throw that into floor, connect this pattern with floor pattern. Give it a save, and now you will see that all of the buildings are randomly rotated now. How swell. Let's say you wanted to have multiple sets of prefabs that can spawn. So I'm going to drag out another one of these weighted paths from this node. And let's see, what prefab do I want? I got it. I will do an actual tree. So I'm going to get twisted wood, fire. Sure, that sounds cool. So I'm going to go to my asset, my node asset editor. I'm going to put in plants, twisted wood, fire. If I save this, you'll see that now there are these weird looking trees everywhere. But let's say I wanted less of those fiery trees. I can change this weight and like decrease it, for example. And now there's only one here and there. You can also do things like increase the amount of props by editing things like the mesh point generator. Anywho, let's make our ground grass because this dirt is really making me angry. Soil, not ground, soil grass. As you can see here, the grass is now red and our structures are gone. But why is that? If we go to the node editor here and look inside of directionality, right? It gets a floor pattern, and this floor pattern has an origin and a floor. However, the floor is set to be soil dirt, which now we have to make it towards soil grass because we updated the floor. So by changing that and saving it, boom. Now everything is on the red evil grass. To change the grass color, you can go over here to where it says Tint Provider. You can drag this out, constant tint provider, and then you can change this color. I'm going to put a nice blue. There we go. That's way better. Now, if you dig down, you might notice every block is grass, and that's not really normal. So we're going to make our way to the asset node editor, and you will find this Q material provider. And how it works is the highest node is the one that happens first, right? So what we're going to do is above this constant material provider, we're going to add a space and depth material provider. And what this does is it adds an additional condition for whether a material is provided or not. So for example, we will put 1, and for layers, we will add a constant thickness, constant material, soil, grass. And then over here, we'll change this to soil dirt. And how this is working is it first starts by checking for this when it's placing it on the block. And it's like, am I depth into the floor 1? And if it is, it'll go ahead and place soil grass. But if it isn't, it will go ahead to the next step, which is a constant material provider, which has no conditions. So it'll go ahead and place the dirt. Now if we save this, nothing changes on the surface. Sorry, that was a bad pun. Anyways, we have dirt now. So hooray, that's nice. Play around with the Biome editor to your heart's content. At this point, you should have fully custom biome hooked to an instance using your own world structure. Now let's say you have a very murky biome, like one where water probably isn't all that clear. Now what you can do is create a custom environment to change the water color. Inside the asset editor, start by creating a new object of the environment type. I will be naming mine Big City Environment. I will copy a HYTALE asset. I will choose default. That way it comes with weather forecasts because the environment really does not like it when you don't have weather. Alright, I will go to this color right here, water tint, and I will make it a bright pink. Or you can make it something dark, but I'm going to use bright pink for example. Now, inside of our node editor, where it says environment provider, drag this out and have a constant environment provider. Now where it says environment changes to the name of the environment you just made. For my example, we will have big city environment. Now if we save, jump into this, sorry, let's try that again. Sorry about that, my game crashed for some reason, but now it all seems to be okay. So that was strange, but now you'll see that right off the bat this water is a lot different. And there's pink particles, which are kind of sore to the eyes, and when you're underwater, the sky is pink. So that's cool. Now, you are also able to edit the weather in this environment. First, I'm going to start by finding a weather I like. I know that there is the Dungeon Crypt Graveyard weather, which if I set it, you'll see the sky will change color a bit, and it starts to rain. So let's say I want this weather to play in my biome, because it is quite the atmosphere. I will go to start by going into the asset editor, locate your environment, and where it says weather, start by clicking this little X, hit plus, and then take one of the weather types from HYTALE. Now you could probably try making your own custom weather, but I don't know all that. So let's see here. Find asset graveyard. I select it and then replace all these values with 100. These are the weights for the weather. And I believe if you have them less than 100, there's a chance for the weather not to occur when it reaches that time in game. You can also see what time it is in game right here. So now if I create a new instance, you'll see that by default, it's already raining, which is funny given we have these fire trees. So yeah, that's how you do weather. Now let's say you wanted some enemies or NPCs or something to spawn within your biome. That's luckily pretty easy. So make your way to the asset editor and create a new object. This one is going to be a beacon NPC spawn. I'm going to name it, you could probably guess it, Big City Spawn. Go ahead and just hit create. And now what we have to do is determine things such as the environment that this spawn happens in. So go ahead and select Big City Environment or whatever you named it. Go to NPCs, and we're going to add a new spawn. So you can add in a NPC from HYTALE or any custom ones you make. So for example, let's say I want crocodiles. Sure, let's go. You can also attach a weight, so I will put 100. I think that's how that works. You can also set a flock behavior where they spawn with multiple at once. Play around with the numbers until you get spawning you really like. But if I go back into HYTALE, also I'll go ahead and just load into a new instance. Let's start moving around to see if we can find one of these crocodiles. Oh, hey there, buddy. Alright, so now you can have crocodile spawn. Alright, now here's a really cool and important part. Let's say you want to create a fragment key for your biome. So that way you could potentially open it with a fragment key object just like this. Luckily, it's not that hard at all. First, we have to start by making the fragment key item itself. So create a brand new item, call it something like... Now I'm going to call mine... Oh wait, hold on. First, start by creating a portal type object. So right here, portal type, unique asset ID. I will name it Big City Portal. And now, inside of instance ID, put the exact name of your instance. And if you can also look into your files. So instance is Big City Instance, spelled exactly like that. And now what we have to do is create the actual key item itself. So hit plus, item, and I'm going to name mine portal key Big City, because that is just the naming convention for the portal keys inside of the base game. And I will inherit from item, type portal key, and I will inherit from windsurf. Sure, I like windsurf. I will go to, or hit show all properties, and scroll down to portal key, and change it from windsurf valley to your portal type. Now, before we test this out, go into description, open this up, put a display name. I'll put Big City. Welcome to the Big City. Save that. Now, as you can see here, 1, we have this large X. 2, here's the description and the name. To change the image to the default one, go to where it says splash image right here. And for the default one, you can put default artwork.png, just like that. And now that you have your data in, you can just open that up, and boom. You're also able to add things like tips. So for example, I'll throw one in here. I'll say, hi, 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 hi. Open this up. Now you can see wisdom. Hi, 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 hi. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And also, if you hit summon portal, head on through, I end up in the fragment of Big City. And now you should know how to create a fragment, environment, weather, custom biome instances, and all of that. Now go create a good mod. See ya. Also check out this video made by Cop and Joe, which goes more in depth on the actual generation of the biomes. Link in the description.